If I had a penny for every time I've heard somebody say, if I had known I wouldn't have studied what I studied in school, I'd probably be a millionaire by now. Okay, that's me exaggerating. But so many times I see people who went to the university and when they're done, they get a job and earn 45,000. 45,000 per annum. Guess what the median pay is for a high school graduate? 40,000. So you've gone to college, spent 3 to 4 years, and you've increased your earnings by 5 grand. Now, to make matters worse, a lot of people incur so much student loan. It's therefore very important for you to do your research very well before you start whatever course you want to go into, whatever career you want to go into. Now, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know this. As of now, there's a boom in the tech industry. And some would say tech is a little bit hard, but not necessarily. I mean, I think I've come across a couple of people that thought the same thing, went into tech and are doing quite well right now. And I'm not saying necessarily you have to go into tech. I think we all know that the highest earners are those in the medical field. Now, the medical field is quite hard and education is quite expensive. Alternatively, tech education is not as expensive and the returns is pretty much good. If you're young and you're thinking of a career, with the way the world is going, the future is tech. And I know usually when there's a rush into a particular field, it becomes saturated and then maybe the pay doesn't be as much. But as of now, at least in the next 10, 20 years, tech is going to be booming. And I think that's the future. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily have to go into tech, but I think it's worth you going to Indeed or going to Glassdoor, and search for what the average earning of the course you want to go study in the university or in colleges before starting. What would someone with 10 years of experience be earning? Or for starters, say, what would someone with 5 years of experience be earning? What would someone with 10 years of experience be earning? Because it's not just about what you earn when you leave school, it's about the increase in your salary. Meaning that if you decide to change jobs or if you keep getting promoted, what will you be earning in 5 years? What will you be earning in 10 years? Because as a fresh graduate, 50 grand will probably be enough for you, depending on what age you are. But as you keep getting older and you start having more responsibilities, you start realizing that money is not going to be enough for you. So go search what the salary is going to be. Sometimes people think that, oh, okay, I'm going to go get a master's degree. And if I get a master's degree, they think automatically that means that you're going to earn more. Not necessarily. It depends on the field you're in. If you're in the STEM, you have a higher chance of earning more with a master's degree. And it depends on what STEM too. You got to be very careful with that, because I've seen some STEM in which a PhD holder is earning like 60 grand. So you think to yourself, after spending 1 year of masters and extra 3 to 4 years for your PhD, you've added like 15 grand to your per annum. It's very important for you to do a very good research. For instance, you want to go study law and it's about return on investment. Law, for instance, you could hit it really big, but usually for new entrants, it's usually very hard for you to return that investment. I think law is quite expensive here to study, almost as expensive. From what I understand, it's almost as expensive as medicine. Maybe not as much, but it's almost as expensive as medicine. And the guarantee of earning back what you invested in law is not as much. Now, when you become like a partner in the likes, that's where you start earning like those crazy millions, perhaps even more than the doctors, but what are the probability that you're going to get to that level? That's the problem. It's not just about you digging deep and burying your heads in your books. Just because you buried your head in your books and you did very well in school doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to earn so much. It's about being strategic. It's about knowing the right course to study. You're going to depend on luck, but you don't want to depend on luck entirely, right? There's some times in which you study a course and it might not be the highest earning course and you get a very good job and you start getting well paid. But you don't want to live your life based on that. You want to live your life on the best probability of earning quite well. And I made mention of tech because that's the emerging market. And if you're young, and I'll say that if you're young, you want to think about tech and you want to be very wary of most of these schools, because the schools here And this is very important, especially to those of us that are coming from Africa, especially Nigeria. I know we like book a lot. We love to study. We love having our masters. We love having our PhD. It's almost a glamorous thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but you want to be sure of where you're having your PhD in. You don't want to go have your PhD in some addiction sciences, like some really crazy courses that nobody really cares about. And then when you graduate with your PhD and you feel very good with yourself, they pay you $55,000 a year, $55,000 of course, and you'll be in like crazy student loan debt. You can go for those courses that are tested and trusted. Those tested and trusted courses. Engineering, and I'm not saying that because I studied engineering, but you might not earn as much in engineering as a graduate, but the higher you go and the more years of experience you have in engineering, especially if you studied engineering and you moved on to work as an engineer, you might not earn six figures for starters. I think the median for engineers is engineering training, that's EIT, I think is about 70 or 65. I'm gonna have to check those, but I think it's about 65 to 75k a year, as a median salary for an EIT, engineering training, which is not bad, right, for a fresh graduate. And the moment you start having years of experience and you start growing and becoming like, depending on which line you go into, you start earning your six figures, which is good. So you don't necessarily need to be in tech to earn your six figures, but you need to be sure that you have the potential of earning six figures, that's the most important thing. You want to be sure that the course you're going into, the career you're going into, you have the potential of earning six figures. Some, even when you have 10 years of experience, at best you'll be earning 75, 80. Nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad salary. But the truth is, the moment you start having more responsibilities and more bills to pay, you'll be surprised that it's not necessarily enough. Think about it. Before you go do that wonderful course that you're studying, do your research. Google how much you'll be earning as a fresh graduate. Google how much you'll be earning in 5 years. Google how much you'll be earning when you have 10 years of experience, and check if it's really worth it. And as much as possible, stay away from student loans. Stay away from student loans. Some of these universities are just basically a business center. Honestly, they know that the subjects or the course you're studying is not necessarily going to earn you so much. They're not going to tell you that at the time, and you're going to be left to fend for yourself eventually, and you start paying your loans back and you'll be in debt to the system. You don't want that. If you can avoid student loans, avoid it. Sometimes hold your Nigerian mentality of cash at hand, you pay for it. It's the best way. That way you know exactly what you can afford. You're not in debt. Don't get carried away if you're here by the glamour and the ease of being able to afford things, because it's not your money, but you can get a loan to buy it. It's a very precarious way of living. So I think the best way for you to survive here is for you to have your Nigerian mentality or your African mentality of I buy what I can afford, and at the same time enjoying the opportunities that sometimes you might be able to have money available to you. And those money available to you, you want to spend them on investments, not on liabilities. But that's another talk for another day. This just came to my mind because I was talking to someone, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think this is gonna end the series of me recording on the road. Remember, this is the Deliberate Expert. Please like and subscribe and click on the notification button. Thank you.